Viewers and subscribers, welcome back to Beat in the Press podcast. I am your host, Rafa. Now, coming up in this evening's podcast, we're going to be looking ahead to the weekend's action over there in the EPL. Big matches coming up. League leaders Liverpool, that gap at the top has been reduced to 7 points. And we also have some big games mid-table as well. Now, joining me this evening to preview these matches and to talk some EPL football, we have returning to the podcast, Christoph.
Good to be back, viewers.
Yes, indeed, Christoph. It has been a minute since we were last on, and lots has happened. We're back with Champions League action. Man City picking up a big defeat versus Madrid. And of course, over there in the EPL, there was a big upset over there at Goodison Park as well. Liverpool at the death, managing to hold out for a point. Talk to us about those games, Christoph. What did you see in the Champions League and what did you make of this recent Liverpool performance? The gap at the top now reduced to 7 points. Talk to us.
Um, while Liverpool did dominate the game in terms of possession, um, at no point did watching that game, I did not feel like they were definitely going to win that match. And it could be just down to the fact that it's a derby match and form goes out the window in these games. People tend to up their level in these types of games. So that could be. But also we know Everton has been on a bit of a resurgence even before David Moyes' return. So I'm not sure which of these factors. It could be a
Well,
combination
it,
of
it could
all
be a
of them.
combination of
All
all
of
of
them
them, in all
that
honesty.
right.
Plus the
But
emotion as well, that it's the
and the
last
emotion.
derby over there at Goodison. Goodison is now going out of commission. Everton should be getting a new stadium come next season. So to me, it was a combination of all of these factors, plus possibly a little Liverpool fatigue as well. A number of players may not have been performing at their optimum in all honesty, but as you say, it's a derby game and form tends to go through the window. So it was a classic snatch and grab from Everton right there at the death. I mean, personally, watching the game, I thought more time was added than what was deemed necessary, in all honesty, though, Christoph. So I think Liverpool could count themselves a bit unlucky to have conceded so late in that game, and what could have been a 9 point lead at the top of the table has now been
Um,
reduced to seven, leaving the door ajar for the likes of Arsenal, Christoph.
maybe leaving the door ajar for the likes of Arsenal, but Arsenal at the moment, the squad is so bare bones at the moment, and without anybody who really is, you know that even Kai Havertz is out for the remainder of the season. It's very tough to say whether or not Arsenal can get the points needed. I expect Liverpool to drop more points, here or there, maybe a 1 point here, a 1 point there, and they still have Manchester City to play.
Well, a
In my
number of big
opinion,
matches are still left, in all honesty. I mean, even the game versus Aston Villa could be one of those banana peels. So, I mean, many a slip between the cup and the lip. I mean, this title race is far from over. The question is, can the
no,
chasing
but
pack capitalize on the
you you
Liverpool
you
errors?
you call this title race over from
Well,
December.
for me, I have called it, but I'm just saying in
Um,
general,
I
generally
think it,
speaking,
in my
it's still not
opinion, it's
mathematically over.
still very possible for anybody, for Arsenal, Liverpool, or Nottingham Forest to still win the league. Even Man City mathematically can still
Yeah,
win the
that's what
league.
I'm saying, mathematically,
Right.
and
The question
right.
is how much points will Liverpool drop, and can these teams bridge the gap,
Capitalize on it.
capitalize,
Right,
bridge the gap?
exactly,
Um,
exactly. For
but
me,
it's hard
though,
to say.
I think it's Liverpool's title. That's just me. I mean, I called it a long time ago, so I'm still sticking to those guns. To me, it's Liverpool title, but as I said, it's not gonna be smooth sailing. It's not gonna be a walk in the park. Many more twists and turns to come, where the gap may even be closed even further. But I think in the end, Liverpool should hold out.
Um, perhaps. You said you thought maybe the result was a bit unfair to Liverpool because there was maybe too
Slightly,
much
I
time
believe
added.
the referee added
Um,
more time than was deemed.
if
Well, I
if
mean, 98 minutes when really and truly the board said five.
yeah,
Granted, there was a
fine,
slight
but
stoppage during that extra time period, but to me, the referee went overboard with the time being added, and it gave Everton that opportunity, that one last chance to, a beautiful strike by Tarkowski to bury that one in the back of the net, and that what was a draw felt should feel like a defeat to this Liverpool team. in all honesty. And it
I mean,
should feel like a victory to Everton.
in my opinion, if that is unfair to Liverpool, I must say that that would be hypocritical for Liverpool to think that the
Well,
game it was unfair
You, but you have to call a spade a
because
spade.
okay, you call a
Granted, it
spade
has happened to other
you
teams,
call
don't
a
get me
spade a
wrong,
spade, fine,
but
call a
it,
spade a
you
spade.
know, right.
Liverpool has gotten away with a lot this season.
Well, I
Liverpool
mean,
has gotten
one could
away with a
argue
lot.
that, and one could argue that,
Van Dijk should have
so I
received
don't
at
know.
least 3 red cards already this season. Just a few weeks ago, we saw him elbow Richarlison in the face, and no
It's the
card
run of
was
the
given,
green.
no
Sometimes it's
foul.
just the run of the green. Some decisions go
There
for
have
you, some
been
go against you.
no
But I'm
there
just
have
saying,
been
on the face of it,
ever
just looking
since
at this game in isolation, though, Christoph,
ever since
without taking
hey
into consideration anything else.
we can't look at the game in isolation. Ever since those comments from that referee David Coot or whatever his name is, Liverpool has seen a lot of favoritism from the referees,
Well, I'm
getting
not
away with a
exactly
lot
sure of
of
that. You would have to show me the statistical
getting away with
analysis.
a lot
I mean, when you look at, but
poor
if you're not
challenges.
looking at it in isolation, one could argue that last season, the referee pretty much took the title from Liverpool, especially that game versus Spurs. I mean, that was a calamitous
But
decision. It
that is something that we spoke about that for some strange reason, and for a number of years actually, the referees have shown, in my opinion, I could be completely wrong. The referees have shown a lot of favoritism to Manchester City the last couple of seasons. Um, this season they seem to have, maybe because of Man City collapsing or whatever. But even that, I've seen some favoritism calls going their way and so on. And as I pointed out some weeks ago, and as the stats, the card statistics have shown that Arsenal, the referees seem to be unfavorable to Arsenal. And even last season, last 2 seasons, we've seen it where some very poor calls have been made against Arsenal. Last season, some very poor calls were made against Liverpool, and even Liverpool versus Man City. So a poor call in that game with that Jeremy Doku.
right?
What should have been
Yeah.
a
So
clear
I
red
mean,
card, clear
that's the point
penalty.
I'm making.
But
But
this season, the referees seem to be making up for that and not giving Liverpool the red cards that they should be getting. Van
possibly,
Dijk
possibly.
should be on 3 red cards for this season alone.
Possibly that's something we can definitely argue. But looking ahead though, Christoph, I mean, that was the week that was Champions League, that midweek game, Liverpool. Now all teams are level in terms of the number of games played, and we can now see a full table before us. And we see Liverpool leading the league by 7 points ahead of Arsenal with Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, and Man City in that chase pack. Now, coming up on the weekend now, Christoph, we have a big, massive fixture. Man City versus Newcastle. That is one of the hallmark games that we have to look forward to this weekend. That's a big top four potential clash. Champions League next season is up for grabs. Man City not playing well. Newcastle with a bit of resurgence, and they have upped the ante and have brought themselves into consideration for a top four finish. Talk to us about that game now, Christoph. Man City coming off what could be a moral draining defeat versus Real Madrid, now faces at home a resurgent Newcastle team. Can Newcastle continue their good form and get one over on this wobbling Man City outfit?
Um, I mean, it's not their only moral draining loss because the previous game they lost 5-1. Um,
Well, that was courtesy of the Gunners.
right, right. The game against Madrid they lost. Watching that game, I thought they were the better team, but it seems like they're having some mental issues. For me, I'm not quite sure what it is, but it seems to be a mental block where as soon as potentially a goal is scored on them, that they lose that belief that they can potentially win that game. Um,
Small margins.
two things happening. When they start the game, they start the game with a type of swagger or maybe a conceitedness about them that we are Manchester City and we are going to win this game regardless of how we play. And as soon as that first goal gets scored on them, is that all that confidence is completely gone.
So it's some sort of false aura then, Christoph.
So,
It's a false sense of self.
something to that effect.
Or it's not coming to grips with where you are now in terms of your form and your performance, as opposed to champions of Europe, EPL champions, etc.
Right, these players at the beginning of matches seem to be in that headspace that we are the best. But as soon as they come up against an opposition that provides any source of force or
Resistance are
resistance, they crumple like a wet paper bag, in my
right,
opinion.
right, right.
People were
But looking
talking
ahead
about
to
them.
this game, though,
Yeah, yeah,
is
I'm getting to this
Newcastle
game.
the team that's going to provide
New
that resistance?
Newcastle is in red hot form. Newcastle is going to put up a lot of resistance. They got beaten by Arsenal 5-1. Newcastle, in my opinion, is playing far better than Arsenal at the moment.
Hmm.
And with Isak in red hot form, Garden in form, it could be you could be seeing another 5-6 nil.
I don't believe it. Not at all. Not at all. I think this is going to be a very tightly, hotly contested game. And I mean, Man City may very well pull out a victory. But even if Newcastle win, surely City can concede another 5 or 6 in the EPL. I mean, they conceded 3 versus Real Madrid, but that's Real Madrid. We're talking about Newcastle here. Sure, certainly. City won't be conceding
Uh,
5 or 6
you
versus
see,
Newcastle.
you see what you're forgetting here. In my opinion, this Madrid team was poor. Was poor. Madrid this season has been poor, in my opinion.
Mm,
Manchester City, however, cannot defend at the moment.
right?
Madrid was poor and scored three. Newcastle is in red hot form. Their striker, who is a very good striker at the moment, red hot form as well. It's not unbelievable that they will concede another five, in my opinion.
I don't see it happening,
All
you
right.
know.
It might not be five, it might not be five, but
I don't see City
me
conceding 5 again.
personally, I'm expecting Newcastle to win this game 3-1.
Oh, so you're calling this game for Newcastle 3 goals to 1.
Minimum, Newcastle will be scoring a minimum of 3 goals in this game.
Wow, wow. That's a bold call there, Christoph. I mean, this is Pep. This is Man City we're talking about, you know.
Man
You're talking
City,
about one of the top scorers in the league, Haaland, going head to head with Isak, you know, two juggernaut of strikers. I think they're trailing Mohamed Salah for the Golden
look,
but closely at the top right there. I think Salah
uh,
has what, 20, 21, 22 goals?
these hat tricks that Erling Haaland has been scoring has been against the small teams. He's been having a goal glut against the small teams, but as soon as he plays these big teams, all these goals dry up. He struggles to find goals in games where teams put up a good opposition.
Mm,
Struggles. Not and obviously, you're going to get opposition and chances are going to be less, right? But
right.
if you go back to even the Arsenal game, one of Erling Haaland's biggest weapons is his speed. Haaland made no runs behind the Arsenal defense, despite Arsenal defense playing a very high line and playing almost on the half line. We saw him make runs against Tottenham, but I don't know what happened against in the Arsenal game. No runs. He looked very short and confident in that game, aside from the one goal that he scored, which, in my opinion, was a gift.
So you're not looking for anything from Haaland versus this Newcastle team then?
If Newcastle defense put up strong opposition, man mark him as we've seen to be effective against him, no, he's not going to put up any strong opposition.
Wow, wow, that's a bold call there from Christopher. Definitely backing Newcastle heavily. For me, though, this is a tough one. I mean, 3, 4, 5 months ago, this would have been an easy call for Man City, but in recent time,
3, 4 months, 3, 4 months ago, the call would have still been for Newcastle.
ah, this one is rough. But I'm gonna go against you on this one, Christoph, you know, for balance sake. Not that I'm very confident, but I'm gonna go against you and I'm gonna call. Sure, certainly this Man City poor run of form cannot continue. They've made a number of signings there in the January transfer window. Cash, the big striker there, seemed to be partnering Haaland, providing some sort of uh compatriot, some sort of teamwork up front. supporting Haaland as a, you could say, a support striker or a very attacking midfielder, he could possibly provide some sort of boost for this Man City team and create some problems for this Newcastle defense. You know, the likes of Ashar, Batman, who have been playing very well and put up a very professional performance versus Arsenal. If they can replicate that form, then certainly this Man City attack will be kept quiet. But playing away from home, I feel Man City will find something in this game. So while I think the game will be closely and hotly contested, I'm gonna give Man City the slight edge, Christoph, in this one. For sake of just balance to the argument which you're bringing forward. You know, not that I'm very confident, but I'm gonna err on the side of caution and go with Man City to get something from this one. But it wouldn't be surprising, as you say, if it was Newcastle walking away with all 3 points. You know, of late, the standards that Man City have set over a number of years have fallen off significantly. And to me, it's no longer a case, Christopher, of one man being missing. I don't think it's only a case of Rodri being out, but possibly, as you may mention, you know, the midfield has lost its legs. You know, the Gundogans, the Bernardo Silvas, the Kovacic,
I
are
mean,
not playing very well, are not finding
at
that right balance in midfield to
at,
compete.
at the beginning of this bad run, it was definitely Rodri being missing,
Right?
right? But as it has progressed, that the lack of confidence has kind of swept through the camp, so to speak. So Rodri is the big miss for them, but because of the lack of confidence in the rest of the team, and again with the combination of that midfield, in my opinion, which is fading at the
Mm.
moment,
But
loss
all
of
right, so
legs.
question for you though. I mean, would you say the skill level of the players have dropped, or is it just the lack of confidence? And what impact does confidence have on a team in general? Because I mean, is it that the skill levels of the players have fallen off, or it has
So
still
I
remained the
mean,
same, but it's just confidence
obviously,
being drained,
technical ability doesn't go away. But
right?
the EPL is also very physical, and we know the midfield does not have the physicality
Mm.
of yesteryear, right? So that has dropped off, but the confidence definitely has
So
played a
you're
big
saying you
role.
you would put it down more to the confidence than
No,
the
they,
the the the, the drop off in terms of skill level.
I'm not saying that. I think if we had a pie chart, it would be a combination of all them.
Oh,
But
so
you could,
50-50
I
then.
mean, not necessarily 50-50. You could say
Mm,
confidence is maybe 50. The loss of Rodri is maybe 35%. The
right,
loss of
right.
physicality is maybe 50. I think it's a combination of all of them.
Factors, all the factors
All
combining to give you some poor results.
right, right.
Mm.
I mean, it could be psychological as well, because we did
Could
see,
be as well. Yeah, I mean,
if you
players,
if
it could be mental where players are no longer hungry, so to speak. I mean, City has won everything there is to win with this group of players. And probably, as you mentioned, a fresh injection of new talent may be needed to pretty much revive that hunger. And, you know, Pep seemed to be taking that hint and what brought in 3, 4 players who possibly could add some bite to that team, revive a bit more hunger, so to speak. But definitely, the motivation is a big factor as well, you know, as part of the drive. It would seem also.
I mean, definitely. I mean, it has been ever since that draw at the Etihad with Arsenal. It seems like maybe Arsenal shook them, to be honest,
Mm.
and ever since then the results have gone downhill.
Definitely, but definitely a game that I will be watching over the weekend. It's one of those mouth-watering fixtures that you can't miss. But the next big matchup, Christoph, is a game between two teams, which you would think would be in the upper echelon of the
Relegation
league
battle,
table. But in fact, this is what you could classify as a mid-table battle royale.
mid-table
Manchester
relegation.
United versus Spurs, Christoph. Spurs, I believe, has this game at home, so it's really Spurs versus Man United. Talk to us about this game. It's 13th place Man United versus 14th place Tottenham. Tottenham and at Tottenham at home for this one. What can we expect in this game? Who do you think will come out the better team and get all 3 points, possibly? What says you?
In my opinion, this is a very, very hard game to call.
That's
Um,
why we look at these games, Christoph. We
the
don't take the
last
easy games.
let,
It's
let
the tight games that we look at on this platform.
if
It's never the easy games. It's those games which are hard to call, hard to determine a winner.
both teams have been poor for the majority of the season. Man United was poor under Ten Hag, and it has continued under Amarin, despite we've seen where there's been a change, they aren't scoring the goals. Amarin does not seem to trust the strikers that he has available to him. I don't know what the reasoning is.
Well,
I
probably well, the reason is clear, Christoph. These strikers are just not good enough. It's as
right,
simple as that. It
but no,
doesn't take rocket science for you to
stri
see
stri
that.
the
Zerkski seemed like a championship player,
the
and
strike
obviously
in my
Highland isn't ready for this league as well.
it,
He's not gonna
it
give you 20 goals
in my opinion, so far, he hasn't really consistently played a striker
because
in
they're
the
not good.
system. Right, but all
They
right,
are not
but you
good.
all
All
right.
right,
If
question to you. Looking at Zerky, how much goal can Zerky give you per season, Christoph? In
I
reality,
I don't know, Man United, in
I
my
would say
opinion,
less
has
than
been
10. And the same thing for
in my
Haaland, less
opinion,
than 10.
in my opinion, I don't know why Manchester United buy some of these players and for so much money.
These players are just not ready to take United to the next level. It's as
I think
simple as that. Poor investment, Christoph. You don't need to
Hoyland
play an entire season for us to
Hoyland
see
in
that
my
you're not ready.
Hoyland, in my opinion, could potentially produce more if he was getting better service. And I'm not sure that he's a striker that would be best suited to have the ball played into feet or played in behind. I think for the remainder of the season, you could potentially get more out of him if you played to his height advantage that he has, and he seems to be relatively good in the air.
But
But
one would
everything
think
is
when
coming in on the
with
ground.
Amarin playing five at the back, so to speak, you would think the wing backs would get down the flank and put some squares in as a potential weapon. But
But
that seemed not to be
that's
the
not
case.
but that's what I'm saying. That's not happening. Potentially you could get more out of Highland with better service, but that remains to be
But
seen.
we're talking about this reality, Christoph. This current reality.
In my opinion, United poor all season. Tottenham poor all season. Right? With
Two poor
Tottenham,
teams meeting then.
right, it's two poor teams meeting. Um let me 1 second, let me just check this stats if the stats are similar.
Well, I mean, it's a rough call.
All right,
It's a
is
tough call. It's two teams really
so,
trying to find something, and we'll be looking to get 3 points, in all honesty. And probably no team want
surprisingly,
to
and
lose.
I wasn't
Probably the
expecting
best call is
this.
a draw.
I think it's a draw, but I just looked up the stats for these teams. I'm actually surprised that Tottenham has more losses than United, despite how poor
Yeah,
they've
and
been.
what we see is Tottenham scores a lot of goals, but
But they
they
concede.
also concede a lot, so it ends up with them having bad results. So offensively, they are a solid unit, but defensively, that is where their weakness lie.
But
And
in the case of Tottenham, I could see them covering that defensive weakness in effect of you are very good going forward. So then you become susceptible on the counter attack. The solution would be instead of trying to counter press a counter attack or something like that, regroup and get everybody back behind the ball and win it back.
but we know that Ange doesn't play that way. So this could
Yeah,
possibly
but
be the perfect game
does
for
not
United,
it
Christoph.
does not matter if you don't play
This
that
game
way.
could
No,
play to United's strength.
if your defense is weak at the moment, you need to cover up that deficiency
But we
by
see that Ange is very stubborn tactically, Christoph. We see that. So even though he doesn't have the correct personnel at his disposal to play a high pressing game, because to play a high pressing game, Christoph, you need two things from your defense. Your defense need to be very quick, and your defense need to be extremely good in the air. That's what we see from a team like Liverpool. When you look at the likes of a Kanate, you're not gonna win Kanate in the air. You're not gonna beat Van Dijk in the air. So aerial prowess check. That's not check for Spurs. Then if the ball over the top does beat you, you need recovery speed. Again, Kanate, Liverpool has that recovery pace, especially covering for Trent when he pushes forward. Again, when you do a comparison with Spurs, Spurs doesn't have that at the moment. You're looking at the likes of a 30 plus year old Ben Davis and a youngster coming in. Their key defenders are out injured. However, and still persists with this high line. So this could actually be a perfect game for United in terms of the way United plays. So
Yeah,
technically, you're playing a Highland versus
United has to
against
score those chances.
a counter-attacking specialist team, so to speak. So this could be a
United has
perfect
to
game for United.
United has to score those chances, and as we've
Well,
seen,
that
they're
may be where
struggling
their
to score.
weakness lie. They are creating, but then the finishing may be letting them down. So that could be where the balance comes in. But in terms of your call for this game, Christoph, that being said, we already agreed two poor teams. One very good offensively, and also that same team very poor defensively. And then on the opposite side, we have a team that creates chances but failing to capitalize. How do you call this game? Who wins this game? Can either team win this game? Can either team grab 3 points? We're talking about what,
I
13th versus 14th?
Right. I
Or
strongly believe that this game is potentially a draw. But Spurs is capable of scoring goals, and we know that Man United has a goalkeeping issue with Andre Onana, where if you hit a well enough shot against him, it's potentially a high probability it's going in.
so do you see this as a high scoring game?
Potentially, this could be a high scoring end-to-end game.
And so you're looking at something maybe like a 3-2, a 4-3, a 4-all,
A
3-3.
5-4, something like that.
But in terms of a winner, who do you see winning? Or are you calling this one a draw?
I think this one, my mind says it's a draw, but I feel like Tottenham have more in them to get the win in this game. But I have to look at the recent results that Tottenham has lost four of the last five. United did lose their last game, but they have won two of the last five. So it's a matter of who is coming into this game more confident, I think.
I don't think either team will be approaching this one confidently. Of course, I would give the slight edge to Spurs because they're playing at home, and that would be the only reason I would give them the slight edge, just because it's a home game. But in terms of confidence, I don't see much. But as mentioned, I would give the slight edge to Spurs just because they have the home advantage. I see this one as a high scoring game as well, but probably not as high scoring as you. So for me, I'm gonna call this one 2 goals to 1 for Spurs. That's my call for this game. I'm gonna go 2-1 Spurs. You're saying scoring draw,
I think this is a 3-3 draw.
3-3 draw. All
But
right.
I
Well,
do I do give the edge to Spurs potentially winning this game.
oh, so you're saying if there is a winner, you expect
I
Spurs to
I,
win.
I expect it to be Spurs. I don't expect it to be United.
If there's a winner. Well, that being said, there are a number of other games on display, Christoph. We're just gonna run through these quickly. Leicester versus Arsenal. What says you?
Leicester has been poor majority of the season. Arsenal are down to the bare bones, but I feel like this is a game that they should win at least
I
2-1.
mean, a big deal, Christoph, is being made of this Kai Havertz injury. But Arsenal have enough firepower. I mean, Trossard could easily step up, Christoph.
I don't think Arsenal have enough firepower at the moment.
Well,
Martinelli
to
injured.
get the better of
Martinelli
Leicester
injured.
at least.
Gabriel Jesus injured. Saka injured.
Yeah, but
Havertz
Trossard,
injured.
tell us who is there. Who is there? Or
Trust,
what does your front three look like
the front
versus
three
Leicester?
the front three for this game is likely to be Sterling, Trossard, and Waneri, in my
So
opinion.
you're saying that's not a good enough front three to get the better of a Leicester team?
I don't know how this game will play out, is all I'm saying. I think Arsenal have enough to get the
Come
win, but
on, Christoph.
you
You're
don't
talking
know
about
how.
relegation threatened Leicester versus title contenders Arsenal. Come on.
I think yeah, but you don't know what the psychological effect some of these
Come on,
injuries
come
have been
on.
having
I
on the
don't
team.
think Kai Havertz is a player which shakes the boat or make any defender quake when they see him coming. I don't think
Not in
he
my
has that
opinion.
big of an influence on this Arsenal team.
No,
I
no. I
mean,
mean,
if he's out, I don't think he's irreplaceable like maybe a Saka, so to speak. I don't think he commands the sort of reverence that a Saka command. So to me, Trossard can easily step up, very least versus this Leicester team. So what's your call for this game
I
in
think
terms of a scoreline?
Arsenal 2-1.
Arsenal 2-1. And then we have Aston Villa versus Ipswich. Aston
Ast
Villa at
A-
home versus Ipswich.
Aston Villa 3-1, 3-0, I think.
So
Um,
easy, this should be a routine Aston Villa win
I
then. Of
think,
course,
yeah,
Aston Villa made a number of interesting signings as well, Christoph. Rashford now represents Aston Villa. Marlin came in from over there in Dortmund. Those are two big name players that could potentially
Marco
uh,
Asensio,
Asensio as well, former Real
Real
Madrid player,
Madrid
was
player.
playing at PSG. So these are three big attacking names. What can we expect? You're saying this should be a routine Aston Villa win then?
I think this is a routine Aston Villa win. I think we'll probably see some of these new signings, getting potentially on the
Well,
score
for
sheet.
sure, Rashford should be getting a run out, possibly at the expense of a Leon Bailey as well, Christoph. I'm not sure what's going on. I thought by now Leon Bailey would have staked a claim for his position and he would have been one of the first names on the team sheet,
I
but
think
that
we've
seemed
seen
not to be the case.
I think we've seen the best of Leon Bailey.
The best of Leon Bailey
I
already?
think so. I think we've seen the best of him for his career.
Wow, wow,
I don't
wow.
think
That's
there's
a bold call.
I don't think there's any better to come from him in
So
his
you're saying
career.
it's all downhill from here then?
I'm saying he will stagnate.
Wow,
This is it.
wow.
This is it for Leon
That
Bailey, I
that's a
think.
big call there, Christoph. That's a big bold call.
Eh,
Liam Bailey just entering his prime at this point in time.
Marcus Rashford and Marco Asensio is big competition for him, and Asensio is the type of player who has the pace and he will score a lot of goals given the opportunity.
Wow. Interesting times ahead over there at Aston Villa then, especially for players jockeying for a position. But this should be a easy routine win versus a relegation threatened Ipswich team. And of course, Aston Villa definitely need the points. And they have been given a reprieve in the Champions League. They had qualified in the top eight. So there are no mid-week games for them at this point in time. They have an automatic berth into the round of 16. So that should help them in terms of Emery getting his message and his tactics across to approach this game. So team should be well rested, well drilled, well coached, tactically set up the right way to get the better of Ipswich. All right, we move, Christoph, and we move to Fulham versus Forest. Talk to us. What's your scoreline?
Oh,
Fulham at home versus Forest.
I think Nottingham Forest will win this one.
Nottingham Forest to win. What's the
3 3
scoreline you're
1
giving?
3-1.
3 goals to 1.
3-1
Forest.
or 3-2. I definitely think Fulham make it onto the score sheet, but Nottingham Forest, good form, strikers have been doing well, and they tend to blitz teams with goals.
I'm gonna call a draw though. I just feel Forest is primed to drop some points at this point in time. So I'm gonna go with a scoring draw. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 draw versus what I would classify as a well-coached Fulham team under Marco Silva. They can pull out some surprise results at time, and they do have the player personnel in order to compete effectively with this Forest team. So for me, I'm just gonna trust my gut instincts, and I just feel Forest at some point in the season will have a little dip, and I think they will get a draw away from home in this one. But stranger things have definitely happened. We move though. Southampton versus Bournemouth. Southampton at home versus Bournemouth.
Bournemouth.
Bournemouth to
Southampton.
win.
Southampton, bottom of the table. They did get a win the last game, but I,
Too much
I,
firepower for Bournemouth.
too much firepower. But I mean, the win felt more like an anomaly. I mean, it was also another bottom of the table team. So,
Right, right.
um, they just don't have it. They're not Premier League ready.
Indeed. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. It should be a routine Bournemouth win. The likes of Clivert and Semenyo should feast in this game. So it should be a high scoring win in my expectation for Bournemouth. Possibly 3 goals to 0, 3-1, somewhere in that lightness. Then we have West Ham at home versus Brentford. West Ham versus Brentford. What says you?
Mm, I go with Brentford to win 2-0.
Brentford to win 2-0. I just feel Brentford cannot perform away from home. They may get the odd results here or there, but generally speaking, throughout the season, they have been one of the poorer teams, Christoph,
I
away
mean,
from home.
then
Potter, West Ham, I think Potter should be able to get the better of Brentford at home.
uh,
So for me, I'm
Brentford
gonna go 2-1 West Ham.
Brentford did well against Crystal Palace away from home. And then Crystal Palace did put on also a good showing against United. So I I, I think Brentford. I think they have more in them. They have performed poorly away from home, but this feels like one of the games that they will get the result, in my opinion.
Well, it's possible. It's possible. But quickly rounding things off, Christoph. Quickly rounding things off. Time is quickly running out. We have Crystal Palace versus Everton. What says you?
Um, Crystal Crystal
Crystal
Palace at
Palace
home.
at home.
I think maybe a 2-2 draw.
2-2 draw. And then the final one we have here is Liverpool versus Wolves. Liverpool at home versus Wolves.
4-0 Liverpool.
4-0 Liverpool. Wow, that's a huge scoreline right there. I expect a Liverpool win, but I'm not sure 4-0 will be the
Nah,
scoreline. Possibly
Wolves.
a tight a 2-0.
No, Wolves shockingly beat Aston Villa 2-0, but I don't think they have enough, or I don't think they have anything to beat Liverpool at the moment. They've been poor majority of the season. Some of that may have been down to the coach that they removed from his position, but the results flipped a little for maybe the first 2 weeks of the new manager, but yeah, I think it's felt like back to square one. They got the win against Villa. I don't think they're going to get the win against Liverpool. Liverpool has too much firepower, and the defense is playing well at the moment, and the
Indeed.
referees are helping them. So
And then final game, Christoph. Quickly, we are quickly running out of time. We have a game on Friday, Brighton versus Chelsea. Brighton at home versus Chelsea.
um, I go with Brighton 2-0. They're
Brighton
going
to beat Chelsea.
2-0.
Wow.
They're going to mark Cole Palmer out of the game, and then
Well,
Chelsea will
granted,
be
they did get
ineffective.
the better of them in the FA Cup as well.
They
So,
will. It will be. Yeah. We know you mark Cole Palmer out of Chelsea game, and then they're pretty much ineffective. So that's what I'm expecting.
well, there you have it, viewers and subscribers. Thanks again, Christoph, for coming on board and sharing your thoughts and your opinions. Some bold calls this week, in all honesty. Some surprising scorelines as well, but we'll be here over the weekend to see it all. Viewers and subscribers, continue to share, like, and hit that subscription bell if you haven't done so as yet. But until next time, this is Rafa signing off.